that's 30 years ago, and she don't know. She's making a case that the PNP have been the JLP have been in power for how many years now, and they need to go back to those and have personal attacks. So I realized that she is biased, and I was expecting her questions to be framed how they were framed. What the Prime Minister did well in the beginning, that a lot of people would say he didn't make good use of his time. The Prime Minister have a strategy where he don't give ear to certain talking points. So he answered them the best he could and let the rest of the time run out.
Okay.
He didn't elaborate on those issues a lot because he knows that they were coming back further on in the debate. And he had the tool to deal with it.
Right. Yeah. So Casey, who won the debate?
The Prime Minister clearly won the debate. Mark Golden have his moment. He clearly has a deep bench as far as the issues are concerned. As far as solution, he's not solution oriented. He seems to still be levying a lot of criticism. He explained about 3 different ways in which he will be funding his tax proposal, and all of them were successfully rebutted by the Prime Minister. So that is still unclear. Otherwise, he didn't have a lot in the way of substance to offer. But based on the questions, you can't blame him because the questions were designed for him to attack. Yes, he was getting the chance to attack all the time. And the Prime Minister was humble and sober. And he really performed the rope-a-dope with perfection tonight.
He performed the what?
The rope-a-dope.
Oh, rope-a-dope. Okay. Well, that's very good, Casey. Thanks for the insights.
Yes. And again, the PNP base will be riled up by Mark Golden's performance because it's a strategy. The PNP came attacking in all 3 debates, and they know they cannot appeal to the well-thinking Jamaican, and they haven't been trying that. I've been telling you people over and over, they are of the view that the well-thinking Jamaicans will not vote. They will not be going to the poll because the PNP think they have a strategy to muddy the water. So they are trying to make the politics distasteful and cast doubt over the people that the well-thinking Jamaican might trust. And the people that seems appealing to the well-thinking Jamaican. So what they are trying to do is damage character and damage trust and rile up their base. And they are of the view that their base is bigger, so they will stand a good chance. So it's like sticking to the agreement. That's what the PNP have been doing, and the Jamaica Labour Party have been appealing to well-thinking Jamaican here and all over the world, and that's why you see them levying less attacks in these debates. They are trying to keep it sober.
Yes. That ending there, Casey, where the Prime Minister, the handshake, clearly the relationship between these 2 men are not so good at all.
No, because Bruce Gold, that Mark Golden have managed to pretend he have been carrying on the act everywhere he go as if he really believes that the Prime Minister is corrupt and the Prime Minister's family is corrupt, and he keep on carrying the Prime Minister family into it for political expedience. And both men would have known that all of this is a farce. So it's a tool for Mark Golden, but the Prime Minister is not having it because it's he is administering some really low blows. And it's not just about his wife. It's about his credibility and his leadership. And it has been the best the country have ever seen. And I keep on telling you, yes, I keep on telling people that as far as I see it, it's strategy by the PNP to assassinate the Prime Minister's character, and they think that that's what have revitalized them, but trying to create hate for the JLP and Andrew Holness. Yes. And they are sticking to it because they think it can carry them a few steps further.
Yes. All right. Hold on there, Casey. Let me hear Scratchy. Good night, Scratchy. How are you?
Blessed night, neighbor. Blessed night, Casey. Inspiration, everyone.
Blessed night. Good night, Inspiration.
Your views on this debate?
I mean, neighbor, yeah, very, very, very wonderful debate tonight, neighbor. Definitely wonderful from the Prime Minister, neighbor. I really don't share the sentiment where persons are saying that the Prime Minister started out slow. I don't think because, I mean, neighbor, if you're running a 400-meter race, neighbor, you have to compound a certain pace, not because your opponent run out faster than you, meaning that you started out slow. I think even throughout the course of the debate, neighbor, in the first one, if you was watching it, you could see at one point where Mark Golding was basically grasping for breath. He was basically talking at a pace where he was basically out of breath. So I don't see the Prime Minister started. You could see Mark Golding was beating, even in the first round, neighbor. He was trying to catch breath. I think the Prime Minister was also a strategic, neighbor. He didn't want to start the debate in attacking mode. He was waiting for the attack to come from the opposition leader to show him up. Prime Minister responded very well, even though he might responded not each time while the suggestion was made towards him. He responded later down in. I think that was also very strategic. I also admire the fact, neighbor, that it is a debate, and I often said, neighbor, despite it being a debate, it is also campaigning. And I think the Prime Minister came out to debate, and he was also campaigning. In his closing remarks, he spoke about pensioners, telling pensioners what is to come for them and stuff like that. So again, neighbor, well done from the Prime Minister. Not a bad performance from the opposition leader, I must say. Neighbor, as Casey said, comrades will be riled up, neighbor. They will be riled up for his performance because it wasn't there and it wasn't any knockout punch or anything like that of that sort. But nonetheless, the Prime Minister, I give it to neighbor, definitely. And I think he did well.
Okay. Inspiration, your comments?
Yes, neighbor, I think the debate was a long time in coming, one that we were hoping for, went well. Mark Golding had some good points there, but what Mark Golding has failed to do is to prove to the nation how is he going to move the country forward. I have not gotten that yet. In terms of when it came to the technology, and listen where I think Andrew Holness was so on point. When it asked that companies in the BPO sectors, there might be challenges and stuff like that, Andrew Holness stood and he showed them where he has his young people are currently seeking, are being trained in the technology sector. So he's actually saying, we saw this coming and we preempt our position to make sure we're ahead of the game. It was such a brilliant takeover. The one thing with me and Mark Golding, and this, I think the nation should be paying attention. Neighbor, if I'm an investor
by the way, Inspiration, are you coming home?
Yes. I'll be there. The victory, I cannot stay here to celebrate that victory. I cannot. The Canada, as big as it is, has no boundaries that could contain my joy. So I have to be home.
Canada has no boundaries to contain your joy.
No boundaries to contain my joy. I have to be on the island. So here's the other thing. If I'm an investor in Jamaica and I'm making some money, It's okay that I will not seek to have real estate because my interest is elsewhere. The prime minister put a punch in somebody's head tonight. Where's your house? Where is your house? Where is your interest? Where's your loyalty? He never rebutted and proved the prime minister otherwise. Yet he's ready to take over the country.
That's
and not
another
even have a
big point
chicken
inspiration.
coop. Not even a chicken coop. Neighbor, I wonder if Jamaica is paying attention. When
And that wiped out the birth certificate forward. And the prime minister was very intelligent in response to that, because he made it clear that it's not about having a Jamaican birth certificate.
Yes. No.
You were in your 40s when you see
That's right.
a Jamaican passport, and at that time you had to. You were forced to, because you were going to be appointed as a government minister.
And Casey, if he got his passport in 2011, I don't think that type of birth paper can get your passport either, you know.
That's what somebody was saying.
I am shocked to know that man like Mark Golding instead of that type of birth paper, neighbor.
Yes, but he could have had it. He could have had it, and he could have had it made, because he can have it made. You can have a replica of an old one of somebody else's and change the information and get it on a old paper or an old looking paper. But I'm not going to accuse him saying that's not real. But you made a good point, Scratchy. He cannot have it get a passport with that birth certificate, but he might have the new one and wanted to show, because that's a political stunt, and he would want to show the original birth certificate from that point. But I didn't think Mark Golding's mother at that point would have left England to give birth in Jamaica. Your neighbors were there were community midwives not even community midwives in those times. Your neighbor, your grandmother would have to give birth in Jamaica in those times.
I want to hear your inspiration. I picked up something here that Golding seemed to hold the prime minister in contempt. He refers to him as Andrew. He sounds very condescending to the prime minister. I don't like it at all.
No, yeah, it's very, but you see, it's a PMP's modus operandi. They will belittle, they will go after the head. You see, when I did I did a bit of a history. And when I traveled and I went into Africa. When I did the history, because my history couldn't just have me stay in Jamaica and these parts of North America, I had to go to the motherland. And one thing I discovered in my tour was that the British or the Caucasians, they will always go after the head. And if they can get the head down, they believe they can topple the old colony. And Mark Golding has not moved away from those ideals. And so they'll always go after the head. They'll go after Andrew Onis. But you know what? I'm telling you this, and mark my word tonight, despite the attacks and the personal attacks, it has no bearing on what's going to come in that election. The people have heard it, and the people were saying, we want more. Okay, you have done all these derogatory and personal attacks. What else do you have to offer us? And he did not come with any of that tonight. As a result, I don't doubt that Jamaicans have made up their minds as to which way they're going to vote. I was listening to Nationwide this evening at 5, and I heard one of the moderators says he had just gotten the Blue Dot polls results on his desk. And he says, you know what? Come tomorrow morning at 6, we'll be starting to release our findings. And they're going to be weeping and wailing and gnashing of teeth. That's what he says. Mark my word. A lot of people's loins are going to become loose in the days and weeks ahead.
My goodness.
Don't worry about the personal attacks. It has nothing. Cliff said that tonight, that personal attacks.
Who won the debate?
The prime minister has won hands down. He was poised. He was direct. He waited for the attacks because he knew it was coming. And then one thing I like about the Prime Minister in this debate, he didn't allow Mark Golding to get too far with his lies. He hit them, he denounced them, and he also explained his position on them. So at no point you would leave the conversation say, hey, there's a gray area. But he hit them right on. And he had actually done so sometimes before he answered the questions that he was being asked. So he was right on point. I think the Prime Minister won this debate.
Okay. Barry?
Yes, neighbor. How are you
Barry,
doing?
How are you?
Doing well. I'm doing well, neighbor.
Did you watch the debate?
Yes, every bit of it.
Barry, as a Jamaican, I must tell you that without myself calling the debate, I feel that somehow, Barry, this country is divided. Divided, and I don't like it. I must tell you the truth, Barry. And when I watch and listen to the opposition leader today, Barry, we're not at a good place, you know.
And let me tell you, neighbor, it's been this way for a long time, you know.
But hold on there, Barry, before you go on. When the leader of opposition and the prime minister at the end of a debate cannot shake each other's hand authentically, then as a country, Barry, we ought to stop and figure out what is happening between these two men. This is not right, Barry.
But neighbor, when you think about it, you know, if you prime minister first and foremost is human being, you know. And when you think of a human being who has the weight of a country on his shoulder, right? And when you know you try your very best, and for every step of the way as a man coming from the grassroots to elevate yourself to the position of prime minister, and you see other people who want your office, and the way they sought to get your office is by undermining and maligning your character.
You want to tell me that in a national debate, the leader of opposition could not refer to the prime minister as the prime minister, or Andrew?
And the thing is, neighbor, it is the bar that has been set for the opposition leader is so low. It's like
I noticed, Barry, I don't want to cut you, but I noticed that the prime minister keeps saying the leader of opposition. You know, I was amazed the other day, Barry, that many Jamaicans do not know that the executive arm of government is still functional. He is the prime minister today.
Yes, he is, and will always be prime minister, whether it be former or present.
Well,
he will always be the most honorable Andrew Holness.
No, but to be factual, Barry, and to teach, you're a teacher. The executive arm of government does not dissolve with parliament.
No,
it remains in effect until a new government is
because the country must go on. The affairs of the country must continue until the day of election.
So the man up here tonight debating is the Prime Minister of Jamaica, is he
Jamaica, not? Yes, of course he is, neighbor. He is the Prime Minister.
Andrew, yes. is you. No, I didn't like that at all. You know, sir. Yeah. I think these
but the point I want to make, though, neighbor, is that the bar that the people would have set for it, not necessarily just the common man on the street, you know, even within media, neighbor, the bar and civil society, the bar that they would have set for Andrew or the Prime Minister is so high in comparison to the bar that has been set for the opposition leader. So the thing is, he can't do nothing wrong. And the Prime Minister has to be on his P's and Q's. And if you notice the amount of lies that has been told on that platform, and nobody, and none of the political commentators or the people who are analyzing the debate after would call out the opposition leader on the lies that he's been telling, even though you would have had documents to prove otherwise. Now, if Mr. Prime Minister would have gone the other way to say some things about the opposition leader that is not factual, then the entire Jamaica would have gotten his head. And so these debates, neighbor, are for the well-thinking Jamaicans who are genuinely on the fence and want to hear some positive developments or some positive plans for Jamaica. And the opposition leader tonight did not put forward anything on the table. All he came with was to actually further malign the character of Andrew Holness. And not only did he achieve in doing that, he also brought his wife into it. And I think that was a very low blow for the opposition leader. And,
All right,
and like
let's-
I've always said, neighbor, in 2016, 2020, they campaigned on Andrew Holness's house, and Peter Phillips got a backsiding. They decided to do the same thing by campaigning on 28 bank accounts. And I don't think the Jamaican people would have forgotten. And they are going to give this opposition leader another backsiding, because they say only a fool would do the same thing the same way and expect a different result.
Barry, a man that has led the government to have reduced crime by almost 50%, he says, created 250,000 jobs, cut poverty in half, presided over the greatest increase in public sector wages, macroeconomic stability. The positives of Holness has never been better. No other leader have bettered it.
No other leader. Yes.
To be treated like this, is personally hurtful to me, Barry.
Yes, neighbor, and I tell you, it is indicative of the kind of people that we are, neighbor. We do not believe in, and sometimes you when you hear Darrell Vaz talk about being bad man, you can't help but believe that this is really just being bad man. Because
when I sit here, Barry, and I listen, I don't know anything about Holness personally, sir. But when I sit here and I listen how Holness has to be taken this type of embarrassment up there, it's painful, Barry.
It is painful, neighbor. And I said to you, neighbor, I mean, if you probably may have experienced some similar things in not necessarily such a massive way, because in your little one life, or your one little career, you would have had people who see you, who probably have seen you elevating yourself to becoming what you are. And at some point in your life, they gave you a hard time because they don't think that you, little Desmond Whiteley, should have actually come to be where you are today. And so they say all kind of things about you. They call you all kind of names. They say all kind of things. And so the Prime Minister is no different, because he comes from the bowels of the working class, and he was not necessarily born with the elites, right? He never actually spent time on Taylor Hall and does those halls with the running up and down with those elitists, right? They don't believe that he should elevate himself to become the Prime Minister of Jamaica.
Sorry, I'm a little bit angry, and I probably will need a little white rum.
Yes.
Well, I wonder if Darrell Vaz could give me a little of that one.
He poured it on the bus. He has left the bus with it.
But Barry, seriously, I feel very, very bad that the Prime Minister has been treated like this. Why?
Neighbor, I don't think we probably need to dwell on it, because it's something that we have seen for a long time. We probably need to look at the debate in itself and what the Prime Minister put on the table.
It is important for me, you see,
it is important, yes,
there's a deeper point that I will not make. Maybe I'll not make it tonight. But I want the Jamaican people to see how the best Prime Minister in our history,
in our country, is being maligned, undermined, and character.
He made a point tonight that the salary increase that was given to parliamentarians, Golding took it.
Yes.
He did not take it, Barry.
The hypocrisy of the opposition leader. Yeah. And at the same time, people are still saying that the Prime Minister is earning so much, even though everybody in Jamaica knows the Prime Minister's salary is 9 million.
Because it's 11:30 p.m. You have to run the line a little faster, because we all won't be here all night.
Well, I'm wrapping up soon now. I don't think I can pick up any more people right now. So it's gonna happen.
As you have to run the line a little faster with the panel you have.
Let me tell you this, neighbor. I mean, as a school principal back in Jamaica, right? I would be earning more money than the Prime Minister right now,
Wow.
if I was in Jamaica right now, right,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I would be earning more money than the Prime Minister. And so
Yeah.
just to show you exactly what the state of it is. So when you hear somebody telling you that the Prime Minister takes or they take $28 million for themselves, neighbor, it is a salary, the restructuring of public sector wages that actually the committee that recommended it, and it was accepted by the Parliament of Jamaica, not just the Prime Minister.
Yeah. All right,
It was
Barry.
voted on and the opposition supported it.
In terms of the debate itself, do you think that the Prime Minister came out the clear victor? What do you think?
Of course, they were by long ways. Because guess what? He was able to answer the questions and put facts on the table and plausible solutions to the answers to the questions that were asked. The opposition leader was not coherent in terms of the plans that he has. He's been talking about the $3.5 million threshold, and he has not been able to credibly defend how he's going to do it. Now he talks about the whole issue of programmatic expenditure, and what he's simply telling Jamaican people that when he becomes Prime Minister, he is going to be cutting the program that the government currently has running. And let me give you some example. The Prime Minister started it, but he never got a chance. When we talk about program, we talk about the drug for the elderly program, the PATH program, the senior citizens pension program, the school bus programs, the art trust NTA programs to provide free education. Those are programs, neighbor. And if those are the programs that the man said that he's going to cut, and he's not willing to be drawn into which one he's going to cut to facilitate the 3.5, he is disingenuous. And the people who are actually evaluating his speech are intellectually dishonest because they know the truth and they will not call him out on it, neighbor.
Okay. All right, Barry.
You know,
Thank you.
neighbor.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Yes, neighbor, not a problem.
Quickly, I want to say,
Yes,
quickly, I want to
yes,
say
yes,
something
sir.
to your neighbor. Quickly, I gotta go now, but quickly, I want to say something to you. It was today, on Monday, I heard a guy said on Cliff Hughes that he couldn't believe when he heard the Prime Minister says he's going to make you sleep with your front door open. He said he never believed a word of it. And he could live today to say he's somewhere in St. Catherine, maybe Whole Harbor somewhere, and he's able to sleep with his front door open. A lady saw me today in Toronto and said, I didn't know you're able to sleep with your doors open in Jamaica now. And so for that, I give the government of the day full credit.
Thank you. You're here, sir. Catch you tomorrow. Casey,
Yes, neighbor.
final thoughts?
Well, yeah, it was a good debate. It only seems close because of the questions. This is individually, this is one of the best debate performance I ever seen, because every question in this debate was to attack the Prime Minister. Every question. And most of these questions, even questions that would have been legitimate questions but should have been levied at the opposition leader, was levied at the Prime Minister with a statement at the front of the question to suggest that the Prime Minister and his party and administration are guilty of these things, and then give the opposition leader the chance to rebut. And it was strategic. And the Prime Minister was so smart, he think on his feet throughout, and he wait for the right time to attack, because he not only surprised Golden in the last half, but he also surprised the questioners who came back with the same question that Golden would have scored some early points from.
Yeah.
Because what they did is came back with the same question that they started with, that Golden did well with in order to try to destroy the prime minister at the end. And they run up in a different prime minister that started the debate. He just answered soberly and watched where this was going, because he was well aware that he was up against the moderator and the three questioners, because they were chosen by the PNP, not necessarily the debates commission. The debates commission heeded to the PNP request not to have certain journalists and to have certain journalists. And they deliberately put Dean Jackson Miller in this debate.
Well,
and Archibald Gordon and the other two people from CVM.
Yeah.
And I know for sure those four are socialists. I'm not guessing. I'm not guessing, and that's not hearsay. A lot of people might just have a hunch, but I know for sure those four are socialists. So the prime minister know what he was up against. So he did an amazing job.
Well, fantastic. Thank you, sir.
Okay, respect.
There you have it. Please, Casey.
Yes.
Please tell your listeners that you'll be here on tomorrow.
Yes, tomorrow.
Saturday, Sunday.
On Saturday, Sunday, and Monday.
Yeah. All right. So, listeners, stay tuned for the forecast. Going to be big over the weekend, and of course, you can support this program by sending us a message on your app right now. Hello Neighbor. We'll send you our Zelle account or our Cash App, and you can make a contribution. Please also remember that we have the GOTV initiative, Get Out the Vote. That's a brilliant initiative by the Politics Plus team. We're asking you to support that also. It's 18 minutes to 12 o'clock here in Jamaica. Tari and Navi is on the line. They are young debaters. Let's hear from them how the debate went. Tari, you have 2 minutes. Navi, you have 2. Go ahead, Tari.
All right. Good night, neighbor. Good night, everyone. I will do this very quickly. Neighbor, I have never promised anyone that I will be balanced or fair or neutral. I have only promised people that I will be truthful. And I must agree with Casey in his analysis that the Prime Minister was up against 4 people. And I'm not joking. The Prime Minister was up against 4 people. He was up against Mark Golding and the 3 questioners. I won't call their names because I know how the political climate is right now. Additionally, how the questions were set, they were set in a way to imply that the Prime Minister has either done nothing or to put the Prime Minister in a bad light. So naturally, the Prime Minister has to be defensive, has to go on quite literally defense. He has to maintain his record and his reputation. I must say that the Prime Minister did start off slow and steady, and I was a bit concerned. I'm thinking that in between the breaks, his advisor spoke to them. His advisor spoke to him. And I must say that after that first break, really, you started to see a different aspect of Andrew coming out in terms of especially where the integrity really was concerned, in terms of the emotion, in terms of the logic that was presented to, and in terms of just really his general rebuttals to Mark Golding. You could see that he was not letting them slide. I must say that I think one thing that we need to consider again, as I've always been saying with these debates, is that many of us who have already chosen who we're going to vote for, we are not affected by these debates. And I've said it before, the persons who are affected by these debates are the still uncommitted or undecided voters. And I personally think, neighbor, that the response that Andrew Holness provided this evening as it relates to his integrity, where Mark Golding would have simply provided speculation and Andrew Holness would have said, well, the investigation was done, the independent reports came, the independent reports found nothing to tarnish my name, to tarnish my reputation. Nothing was there to put me in a bad light. Yeah, he presented really the logics, I must say. So I think a lot more undecided voters would have really gravitated to that, considering the fact that, hey, this is the logic. He still has his right to presumption of innocence because nothing has been put against his name. So I really think that that would have put him over the top for this debate. I must also say that it seemed to me at least that Mark Golding was only prepared to speak on integrity and corruption. It doesn't seem as if he was prepared to speak on any other aspect of the debate. For some reason, it seemed as if Mark Golding was getting a bit frazzled and razzled, or I could say stuttery and jittery as it related to questions from other areas outside of corruption and outside of integrity. But I must say, for me personally, that the Prime Minister took the edge in this debate. He remained calm and composed. I must also say that I also do think that, and maybe it was the Prime Minister's strategy, but maybe the Prime Minister wanted to take the calm route for a second to allow Mark Golding to unleash. And as a result of that, let that rub the undecided voters the wrong way, and as such, make them think twice about voting for Mark Golding. Maybe that was
Thank you
part
so
of the
much.
strategy.
Thank you so much, Taryn. Let's hear from Navi. Navi, hi.
Night, neighbor.
Hi, how
Neighbor,
are you?
I'm doing great. I really enjoyed the debate,
Uh-huh.
meaning, and I think the only concern I had was the Prime Minister answering the questions and the things about his integrity. I love that. Yeah, I give him 10 to actually answering the question and not leaving it out to the open. One of the interesting things in the neighbor, everything that was said tonight about the prime minister and his wife and everything, we already heard it like a million, and we heard it for a million times. So it was nothing new. I expected the PMP to come and tell us what are their plans. I expected them to come and tell us that everything in the country is going bad. But what me and many other persons are saying, that the only thing Mark Golding came and told us that unintentionally, that the economy is going good, everything is going great. And his only problem is with his Andrew Holness. That's the only thing. The things that he's saying, that from the government report that the government presented or projected, something like that. It says that the 3.5 million can be done because the economy is so great. But when they get on their political platform, they say that everything is in a bad shape. So I'm glad they confirmed that everything that they said before is disingenuous, because right now you're telling me that the economy can withstand a $3.5 million threshold. So I love that fact. I thank Mark Gold and the PMP for clarifying that for the Jamaican people. Secondly, neighbor, some of the most of the questions that were asked tonight is about Andrew Holness. It felt like he was on trial for something. He was on trial for murder or something. That was the whole debate. And every time he tried to answer questions, um, every time he tried to answer questions about the country, it was presented like his administration was at fault for most of it. Just like the press freedom thing. When Mark Golding answered the question, he said that his party is attacking journalists, but in the end, he said that in his view, some journalists are unprofessional. You just said that you weren't
Yes.
attacking journalists, so how you come to that conclusion? So you admitted, and I don't know why that question was even framed for the Prime Minister when it should have been given to Mark Golding, because it's his administration out here naming journalists and naming journalism stations and radio stations. So I don't know why Andrew Holmes got that question in the first
Yes.
place. Secondly, the question about The question about what's the question was about the BPO sector, and I think the Prime Minister answered that question. Oh no, Mark Golden hasn't answered that question for me. Every question, other from Andrew Holness, he had an answer for every Andrew Holness question except that. So I don't know. And again, neighbor, it is nothing new. We heard this a million times. I thought the PNP would have come better tonight to actually explain to the Jamaican people what they're going to do. And many people, all if you go for social media, you hear some people say, "Oh, Margot did one," but everybody else say, "I just feel like this was about Andrew Holness. It wasn't about the country." I find it very questionable that no foreign affairs questions were asked me, but I think a foreign affairs questions they could have interjected all Dean Jackson's question about the DPP. That question could have been a question about foreign affairs because we're currently in a geopolitical climate that is shaky, neighbor. These are the questions that I
Yes.
wanted to be asked to the leaders. Some of the
Uh-huh.
questions some of the questions could have been taken out. And at one point when I was looking at Dean Jackson Miller's body language, she was upset. I don't know why she was upset. For me that she looked very upset, neighbor. Like when in the last half when Margaret was answering the question, she looked very upset and I heard she came back and asked him the question again. So and even when what's his name? The one that switched from TVJ to
Uh-huh.
CVM, he asked a question and Mark going look flustered like he's saying, "Oh, I never heard a question before. Like what a question come for? Did you guys just make up a new question?" Like
Uh-huh.
he knew the questions that were coming. I don't know. It just felt that way, and it felt that Giovanni. It felt like Giovanni that went off script for a second. That's what it felt the entire time. Like everybody was on a script, they stuck to the script, and for me, neighbor, I would have went off the rails, neighbor, for some of those questions that were asked because some of the questions that were presented. It's not an Andrew Holness administration question, it's the opposition. And I love that the Prime Minister constantly told us that every question about constitutional reform, it's the opposition fault that we haven't reached that stage. He answered the question about the fixed election date brilliantly. Brilliantly. Neighbor. He answered
Yes.
that question brilliantly. So I think that the question that actual Jamaicans wanted answers to, we got it tonight. And the PNP propaganda, well, it's the PNP propaganda. And many people, neighbor, didn't expect anything better. I just hate that some of the questions, neighbor, we could have asked real questions, neighbor. We have real problems. We have real problems in this country, and none of those questions were presented tonight. The only questions that were presented is Andrew Holness and Andrew Holness. Me no business, but I what Andrew Holness want to neighbor. What Andrew Holness do for affect the country? But the only thing that the opposition told me tonight that the country is going great. That's the only thing I heard constantly. Based on what the government has presented to me, I can do the $3.5 million threshold. Based on based on how the country is going when I get the country. I'm going to I'm in for a good time. That's the only thing I got. So I think he answered our question. Why should we change? If you think it's going good and you're the opposition leader and you're vying for the candidacy of the prime minister, why should I change this prime minister if the economy is so good, if everything is so good? I expected them to bring up health sector questions, all of them questions the neighbor, real questions about Jamaica, but everything was about the prime minister. Nothing the Jamaican people haven't heard before. We heard it for the last 2 years, but they still think that can sway the election. And I know Jamaicans will be coming out to vote and voting for Andrew Holness. I just saw a video on my TL and I had the person in my mind as a comrade in the neighbor, but the person said, if you're not Andrew Michael Holness, you're not going to win an election in Jamaica. And that is just the fact right now. Because the man called Margolin a drunken policeman. So I think that he came out of this debate as some star, but in the end he came out this debate with the same thing that everybody is saying, Margolin, you are not fit to run this country. You still haven't answered any of our questions. The only thing you presented is that Andrew Holness, Andrew Holness, Andrew Holness. But maybe that's just me, neighbor. Only thing I got from Mark Gunn is that the economy is going great and the country is going great.
Would you would you
And
would you
no,
would you would you say Holness won the debate?
Of course, he did. Neighbor. He wasn't talking to the Jamaica Labour Party base. He was speaking to Jamaica, and I think the ending was so perfect. Like he nailed that ending. Even I hear comrades on Twitter admitting the fact that they thought Andrew Holness had the stronger ending speech, and that's what matters at the end of the day, neighbor. He spoke to the people of Jamaica. Mark Golding was speaking to his base, and they're going to be riled up in the neighbor. They thought this was a win for them in the neighbor. So they're going to be riled up. But people have still have questions unanswered from Mark Golding. He still haven't answered the questions that the Jamaican people want him to answer. And the panelists gave him all. I think that they thought they were doing a good job in the neighbor. Like the panelists neighbor, they thought they were doing a good job. But we already heard this before, and I don't know what is it, neighbor, that the PMP is not understanding. We heard this before. We know this already. If you ask even a baby about the IC them with no neighbor at this point in Jamaica, we don't want to hear that.
Ah, boy.
Uh-huh.
Naji, if I may just add a neighbor, if you'd allow quickly. Three things. One, a neighbor poor, Jamaica this, Jamaica that, Jamaica everything. That has been the mentality that they're trying to push within our minds. Secondly, I'd say there's something within communication studies called a big lie. And why it is called a big lie is because how often you repeat a lie, how often you repeat the lie, it's it's spoken as a truth. So constant reinforcement of that lie makes persons believe that it is a truth, which is why they continue to push forward this narrative. Yes, it's a lie, but the more you push it, the more you reinforce it, the more
Tari, wait,
truthful
Tari,
they
I'm not
believe it
cutting you out,
becomes.
Tari. But you see, the thing is, Tari, you see, this 3.5 thing threshold would mash down every lie the PNP has been saying. Because neighbor, if you ask anybody about this question, they're going to say, but the PNP said that the country was in a devastating position. But now you're telling me that the country's been great. The fact that you are banking on that 1% economic growth, the fact that you are sure of that 1% economic growth. Remember, you're saying no, we're not supposed to trust the JLP, and we're not supposed to trust their sources. Anything that they said is a lie in the neighbor. But you are telling us to trust. You are telling us to trust you because right now in the neighbor, you are trusting the JLP to and the finance minister to have the correct numbers. So in all, you just derail everything you said because no, you are trusting the government that their papers are right. So you know that you can implement your policy
Okay.
because the government said so, but you said we should not trust them.
Okay. All
I
right,
think,
guys.
and that is one thing I had hope that the prime minister would have put forward earlier in the debate that the PNP has been flip flopping on this issue. And finally, quickly, neighbor, I've heard some concerns that we don't have that we are missing fact checking from the debate, and I think it's very important. We need fact checking. Why I say this? I have youths in my contacts on my WhatsApp. They are watching the debate, but the unfortunate reality is not all of us is like a me or a Navi. Yes, I and Navi, both of us know our political history. The others don't. So these fact checkers need to exist within these debates to hold these debaters accountable whenever any lie or any innuendo is being spewed. Right? These things need to be done because we're talking about educating our generation with the proper political history. And when we grow up in a society where politics is just portrayed as nasty and parents don't want their children to ever get involved, then you will never have a society that really knows anything about their political history. So these fact checkers are very important, neighbor.
Okay.
That's where I leave
Thank
it.
you. Thank you so much. Guys, the election continues. The election campaign continues. The debates are now over. We have heard the debates. We now head to the polls next week, Wednesday. On Thursday morning, we wake up as one nation Or do we? Because what I saw here tonight suggests that this country is wounded, is divided, and it is going to take some time to heal. And it is going to take leadership to heal. We were not like this. This is not what I had expected. Quite frankly, I leave this debate disappointed, maybe even a bit angry, because we can do better than this. You see, politics is about ideas. Let the ideas contend. We don't need to go into people's bedroom, into people's family, to be disrespectful, to trace people out. We are placing ideas before the Jamaican people. And in that marketplace of ideas, media is responsible to disseminate, clarify, and to ask people to choose. And as we go to the polls next week, Wednesday, I think we go unclear. Unclear because up until this point, we have not heard how some of these things are going to be paid for and what is the clear path from the opposition. And in that regard, I think the Prime Minister did very well. Very well under the circumstances. And when you consider his performance as Prime Minister, when you consider that he has created 250,000 jobs, when you consider that we are safest now in decades, when you consider that poverty has been cut in half, when you consider the improvements Jamaica would have made since 2016, he ought not to be treated like this. He ought not to be treated like this. I am disappointed that the Prime Minister is not even being referred to as Prime Minister, but Andrew. It's Andrew. I am concerned for the democracy. But we have survived, We have come through more difficult times and we survived. I suspect that if Holness remains Prime Minister at the end of Wednesday, he'll continue the good work. I'm not sure that if the results are the other way, what to expect. Join me tomorrow when we'll be live again to share some more of our views. In the meantime, take care of yourselves, take care of your family. Continue to pray for Jamaica. Continue to pray for your Prime Minister. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone. Take care.